At the beginning of the speech, when he touted all these, quote, economic successes, it's kind of like, have you ever talked to another American other than your own administration? You cannot tell people that you've got inflation coming down when they're paying more. You can't tell people groceries cost less when they're paying more. Gasoline costs less, except they're paying more. Housing is less, except they're paying more. You just can't convince people that inflation's under control when they can't keep up with inflation. I just think it's tragic to lie to the American people like that. The other thing that is so crystal clear when you listen to him speak, and just as badly when you listen to Democrats' response, they hate businesses. They hate employers. They hate big business, small business, middle-sized business, and the idea that somehow the big businesses aren't paying their fair share. I mean, the top 1% of earners in this country pay the biggest chunk of taxes in this country. And this war on employers is pathetic, quite honestly. And then to talk about our energy companies, whenever Joe Biden says that our oil companies have record revenues and they're using it to buy back, for buybacks or to pay dividends, it's like, that's because you won't let them use it to invest in drilling more oil, Mr. President. And then when he got pushback on that, what does he say? Well, we do need oil for at least maybe another decade. Really? And you think that wealthy people, that oil companies should invest billions of dollars in infrastructure that you say they only need for 10 more years? Again, intellectual, mental disconnect from reality. Another real disappointment was when he started talking about fentanyl, as though he doesn't hold any of the responsibility for inviting it into our country. He has literally put out the welcome mat to the human and drug traffickers of the world to come on in across the Mexico border. And yet he talks about fentanyl like we need to do more about it. Well, no kidding, we need to do more about it. Build the wall, secure the border. I mean, it's ludicrous. Everybody in America and around the world, especially in Mexico, people traveling through Mexico know that Joe Biden loves a wide open border. He campaigned on a wide open border. He campaigned on at least 2 million illegal immigrants coming across every year. And now he tries to pretend that somehow he's the border guy and Republicans should support his plan to secure the border. He has no plan to secure the border. He is succeeding in his plan to make the borders insecure as possible. That's why we have fentanyl at record numbers. It's why now you're seeing a lot of single men in fatigues and camouflage crossing the border. It's why you're seeing the coyotes getting lots of money to traffic humans and children across our border. And for some reason, Joe Biden just, again, completely disconnected from the reality. We're going to have I'm afraid we're going to have a tough couple of years, but I'm going to do my part to try to work with him where we can. But it's not going to be easy with somebody that's just so disconnected from reality. I think one of my most disappointing moments in the speech was when he tried to blame Republicans for wanting to cut Social Security. There's a grand total of 0 Republicans I've ever heard say they want to cut Social Security. This is an old Democratic play, from their playbook for the last 30 years. The problem is, it's never happened. It's not going to happen. Every Republican has said we'll negotiate, but Social Security and Medicare are off the table. But he keeps wanting to drag it back. And that's the sign of a very weak man. That's the sign of a man who knows he's losing the argument, and so he's got to somehow get people thinking something's not true. Something that's not true is true. And I just think it's rather pathetic, quite honestly. I know he took a lot of pushback when he told the big lie about Social Security, and rightfully so. He closed the speech with a couple of pretty good things that I have to say I hope he's committed to. One is continuing to modernize and strengthen our military. God knows they need it. This week was not their finest hour, and I hope that he's serious about wanting to continue that. He also talked about some programs for our veterans to help them in the workforce, find jobs for our veterans, match up their skill sets, transition from military life to civilian life, including help in the mental health field, help getting jobs, help paying for housing. I think he had pretty much unanimous support in the room for a couple of those themes.